Hello, everyone. This is Todd Talks. I am joined by Mr. Jim Davis of WebDM, a very informative channel that you can find all kinds of things out about Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are talking about the latest Unearthed Arcana. There are a bunch of new spells and tattoos. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's let's all right. I'm assuming you guys can hear me now and that I am no longer muted. I'm
Yes.
good. All right, that's good. Thank you. I am a professional and I try to treat this professionally. No, I'm excited to talk about magic tattoos, but some of these spells we're going to have to get through first because
Okay, yeah.
I have thoughts on like all of them.
Yeah, so we hadn't had our Unearthed Arcana as well. I think it's kind of interesting that we have not gone any further subclasses in this particular update. But we do have new spells. Acid Stream is kind of the first one.
Yeah.
Acid is always like horrifying to me in D&D. I think famously in Dragonlance, one of the first novels, one of the character gets offed by acid from a black dragon, and oof,
that scarred me emotionally.
Yeah, right.
Because to me, acid is still the worst damage type you could do to someone.
It really is. It's the darkest thing, and I as a player only utilize it when I'm like fighting a troll or something, that's regenerating. So Acid Stream, it's first level evocation, concentration up to a minute. A little shocking that. So a stream of acid, emanates from you in any line that is 30 feet long and 5 feet wide, in a direction that you choose. Each character and each creature in the line must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or be covered in acid. Spell's duration, or until the creature uses its action to scrape or wash the acid off itself or another creature. A creature covered in that acid takes 3d4 acid damage at the start of each of its turns. When you cast this at higher levels, etc., that damage increases by 1d4. Super creepy.
This is a strong spell for first level.
For first level is particularly strong.
Over 2 levels, it's equal to Melf's acid arrow.
Right. It doesn't do damage initially, though, correct?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so that's okay. That's a good catch because I was assuming that it does, but so 3 rounds would take to catch up with Melf's then.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is interesting because this is giving them the opportunity to not take actions, which is interesting. So it
gives the choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are having a dungeon master who is going to have to think like, okay, are they freaking out because they have acid on them? And so it's good crowd control, weirdly.
Yeah.
With a minus. So
good use for minions because an ally can scrape it off as well. Right.
Good point.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I'm assuming like a familiar or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, would I have that? I mean, yeah, it's an interesting spell because it could potentially be a little finicky in the terms of like, how do you like, if your familiar is trying to help you take acid off of yourself, how does that familiar not get burnt as well?
I would certainly have that they take damage if they're using like their hands.
I mean, of course, there is that kind of like aliens thing where like they take the armor at the last second before it melts right through them, kind of.
That's true. That's true.
Vibe that can be happening there. I mean, it becomes too finicky if you have to worry about mechanically, helping that narrative, right?
We're not worried about the pH level of this acid and how it's washed off. I'm assuming water washes it off.
It's super effective. I mean, like if there's a bunch of people in a hallway and coming after you and you spray them all with acid and everyone just stops what they're doing to get the acid off, you can like run.
Right. You've either not wasted, but you've either spent their action a whole turn.
Yeah.
Right. They could still move, I guess, but they're not doing anything else.
Yeah. I mean, because if you're fighting goblins and orcs and stuff like that, low level encounters, this is gonna murder them if they don't.
I love this spell as a DM. This is one of those spells because it forces a decision on players.
Yeah, that's fun.
And, you know what I mean? And anytime you can, especially in combat, where it's like do this or that. I enjoy those kinds of abilities. So I definitely give this one to villains. Nice first level spell. It's less strong than I thought, just because it doesn't do initial damage, but
it's certainly creepy enough.
It's still, yeah. I love it.
Okay, so we've got otherworldly form. I kind of wish I had this a little bit earlier than 6th level, but it's, it's adequately powerful. So it's concentration. It's up to a minute. It's transmutation, naturally. If you are playing a very planeswalker focused game, which I almost exclusively apparently do now. I always run planeswalker type games. I'm always playing a planeswalker type character. You utter an incantation and you can draw upon the magic of the lower planes or the upper planes, your choice, and transform yourself. You can either become, you can become immune. You are immune from fire and poison damage if you're from the lower planes, or radiant and necrotic damage if it's from the upper planes. You are immune to the poison condition, lower planes, or the charmed condition, upper planes. You get spectral wings that allow you to fly at 40 feet per round, and you get like a +2 to your armor class. All your weapon attacks then become magical. You can use your spell casting modifier to make attacks instead. That's interesting.
Now we're getting really interesting.
Yeah. That's you now every wizard can be a fighter.
Right. Yeah.
Because especially coupled with what's coming next, you can now attack twice instead of once when you take the attack action on your turn. You ignore this benefit.
Singer frowned.
Yeah, you can be a blade singer for, longer than a round.
Yeah.
Right. This is concentration. It's not. It's one action itself, and it lasts it is concentration up to a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you effectively, wow, poor blade singer.
Right.
Yeah. This is a 6th level spell, but yeah, you get like another attack. You get bonus to armor class. This turns any sorcerer, wizard, or let's see, what else has this? Warlock, correct? Warlock has this.
See, I think so. I would assume
Warlock does have this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, except they have usually a chance their spellcasting modifier to attack.
Yeah,
like this as an alternative.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I kind of wish I had something like this. I'm not here to dog on the Blade Singer, but man, that would have been an interesting spell, right?
Yeah, it's all okay. So it's the last one that doesn't synergize well with Blade Singer, and
right.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's a nice alternative to Tensor's transformation, which up until now is sort of the melee transformation spell, but you can't cast spells when you've got it. And I don't see anything about that in otherworldly form. Although Tensor's transformation does last 10 minutes instead of 1.
And how early is Tensor?
6th level.
It is also 6th level.
Yeah, it's a 6th level transmutation. Yeah.
Okay.
Minutes concentration. So it's like it's a nice one. What do you want to be more tanky and have the temporary hit points and extra force damage on attacks,
right?
Or do you want to sort of lean into the resistances and the Blade Singer type of spell school that you could have? Yeah, I like this. I really do.
Yeah, it is interesting. And again, there's always this weird with being a wizard, everyone wants to be a Gish. I would argue everything in D&D 5th edition is a Gish at this point.
Certainly. Yeah.
Virtually. Or you have the option to take a feat to make you kind of Gish light. This is, how often is a wizard going to necessarily do this? I don't know. For the warlock, it's kind of interesting, potentially. Yeah. And certainly for the sorcerer tends to get armor class benefits already. On top of that, if you're playing Draconic, then you can kind of get your dragon form a bit early. But yeah, it's interesting. This is also probably really helpful. Like we said, this is very, very planeswalkery stuff. You're getting everything you need to do to travel the world.
Yeah, for real though. But clerics also get this one. So consider that last feature for clerics for some of them.
Yeah,
that's when I start seeing this as a nice spell. When I start thinking about clerics having this, you can turn it to sort of like a celestial form.
Yeah,
or diabolical.
Yeah, it's a good all around spell for a lot of situations, I would have to like use it in game to see how often I would use it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I probably would use it more as a cleric than I would unless I was playing like an abjuration wizard.
Exactly, you're right, because a wizard is already laying down the hurt. Like, why are you getting into melee combat? At that point.
Sure.
So I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't say no to more spells that kind of emulate combat for the wizard. Why am I forgetting it? It's not Zephyr Strike. It's where you attack like 5 people at once.
Steel Wind
Strike is like, I would like more like that, because then you can like kind of have that vibe of being a fighter wizard, but you're still using your spell slots.
And reminds me of, not to spoil anyone, but a scene in The Witcher where it's sort of looks like someone's just casting melee spells like Steel Wind Strike. It's sort of like, this isn't like an ability that lasts for a while. It's a single instantaneous thing, but the visuals as my wizard or sorcerer is sword in hand, dashing through the battlefield, slicing it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I've always enjoyed that. I would like something a little bit like a lower level that kind of emulates that. But anyways, I've gone off track.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have Spirit Shroud. What necromancer isn't going to use this? So 3rd level necromancer, it's a bonus action to cast. It's concentration up to a minute. You call forth the spirits of the dead, which flit around you for the spell's duration. The spirits are intangible and invulnerable, and they are either good or evil, your choice, until the spell ends. And any attack that you make deals 1d8 extra damage when you hit a creature within 10 feet of you. This damage is radiant if the spirits are good, and necrotic if they are evil. Any creature that takes this damage can't regain hit points until the start of their next turn. In addition, a creature of your choice that you can see that starts its turn within 10 feet of you has its speed reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. We got a lot of speed reduction in D&D these days, all combined. This is great for necromancers.
It's sort of like spirit guardians for everyone else.
It's a bonus.
Kinda.
Yeah. It's interesting, like because obviously we see a lot of bonus actions that are concentration, that are smites. It's interesting to see a bonus action concentration spell that isn't kind of akin to that to me for some reason. So
I like this. I like this for necromancers. I like this for everybody else that gets it. For paladins, I believe.
Oh yeah, that works really well. Let's see. Do wizards get it? They do, don't they?
Yeah.
Warlocks
get it.
Warlocks get it.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. You can upcast it, so it's really great for warlocks. It's always something that's hard for me when I'm playing a warlock, is not to not want to get the full effect of a spell.
Right.
It always breaks my heart a little bit to choose a spell that I know doesn't like scale. It's just the economy of it, I guess.
Oh yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah, so this increases by 1d8 at higher levels. So this is actually really great. Woof.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a bonus action. When you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th or higher, the extra damage increases. Hexblade
each slot.
Mean.
Yeah, this is at the higher levels you get, the nastier this can get, especially for like those classes that might be in melee as well. So
like especially when you're the Hexblade and you're already maybe using you can't be using your hex to teleport because it's concentration, but yeah, you're wanting to keep your enemy near you, and if you're reducing their speed by 10 feet.
Yeah, I'm using this on my necromancer behind a wall of plate armored zombies.
Right.
It's got to be within 10 feet of you, but it's any attack.
Yeah.
And so, just Toll the Dead.
Yeah.
Or wait, I don't know if that's I guess I'll have to read the.
It is to Toll the Dead is a save.
Yeah. So maybe something else.
But yeah,
chill touch.
Chill touch. Just skeleton hand.
Right.
So then now we're getting into the spirits.
Yeah.
What do you think this has happened? I actually miss I miss the monster summoning spells. I actually make jokes about it quite often. Monster summoning 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I love them.
I miss all of those. I don't know why. I just find them charming, and I think it's hilarious when someone casts them and then you summon your players. I don't know why. I think that's funny to me. So summon Aberrant Spirit. This is a spirit from the far realm. It's automatically friendly to you. If it drops to 0 hit points, it disappears. This is like anything that could be like a star spawn or beholderkin or slod.
Yeah.
What I do love about this is that we're just getting flat stats to make life easier.
Yeah,
and to prevent manipulation. To be
certainly
honest, power gaming can be an issue. So
this is to head off the pixies turning everyone into T-Rexes.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
that kind of gamer. The simulacrum making a simulacrum.
Right.
So those, Aberrant Spirit's tough, man. It's got good strength. It's very intelligent. It's got no charisma, which makes sense, I suppose. And depending on your read on charisma, it regenerates, and it has a creepy aura, or whispering aura. I don't like that at all. And you get those two options. It can if it's the slotty, it can regenerate. If it's the whispering aura, it just creeps everything out around you.
I mean, the slotty is sort of my favorite of these, just because it looks like a beast.
Yeah.
With the regen and the what's it got? Claw attack. They're just. I mean, Beholderkin is a good sort of like floating ranged sort of attacker.
Right.
But I would maybe interpret it like the second edition Beholderkin, that were just like all the variants of beholders that you drew on the outside of your spiral notebook in school.
Like lensman. Remember the lensman?
It's like this one's got arms and legs. This one's got crab claws.
I always imagined a lensman, because for those that don't know, it's this horrible, ugly, terrifying beholder, like with a humanoid body.
Yeah,
it's just a big eye in the chest, and it looks like maybe it like hangs out with Modrons to like it's the duck amongst the geese or something, or the geese amongst the ducks.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how I'd flavor it in that. I'm struggling to see how the star spawn abilities sort of either synergize or like it. I guess it's just an AoE pulse. It's like a 5-foot pulse of psychic damage.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was synergized or something. If only because like the star spawn monsters themselves have such great synergy. I think maybe that's why I was like, oh.
And you get eye rays with the beholder.
Yes.
So that's always
psychic damage eye rays, no less.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's floating within 30 feet. And so like the question I have with all of these, and thankfully like every one of them has the same sort of statistics: 1 action casting time, 90-foot range,
right?
Verbal somatic material with variable material cost, concentration 1 hour. Even the language of the first like really 2 paragraphs is essentially the same, other than how it describes what the different things are. Like, fey or bestial is like land and air and water, for instance. And really like once you get that down, you look at just the stat blocks and can kind of compare things. And I really like that with a spell, where it's just sort of like, this is the template for it, because it's a template for dungeon masters as well to create their own variants on summon spells that are not like, gosh, if I use the CR of a monster, which everybody has complaints about,
right,
to summon a thing, like, but these monsters are not meaty enough to withstand the kind of dangers they're going to be put in.
Yeah.
I would much prefer the summon type spells over the conjure ones.
I love that. As a conjurer, man, especially if you're a conjurer, right? Like you've always wanted to have like the choice to be strategic in what you summon. And this is giving you that. And not only that, like each individual spell has like, already we're at summon Aberrant Spirit, and you have 3 choices.
Yes.
This is like being an artificer in a lot of ways, and being able to make like something mechanical and fight for you.
You need,
This is definitely bringing conjuration back. How do you feel about all these just combined, and the fact that they're suddenly including these?
I really like them, because there's no way around it's going to take up extra time problem. That's a player DM interaction, come to an agreement that works for the table issue. But the way these spells interact with the rules of D&D, I find it's much more elegant. It has parallels with the different companions that the new sub classes have been getting, and the fact that it's like that they can look like whatever you want to look like. Which when we get to summon fiend, there's some fun things you can do with the fiend looking. You know, you mean I can have it look like a monolith?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. As long as it doesn't act.
Yeah.
But I like that there's just a template for them. I like that they have variable levels. I love the fact that my ranger can summon an animal like they can in every other version of D&D as far as I remember.
Yeah. And again, like all these abilities that we are looking at right now in the Unearthed Arcana, you add the spell's level. So they scale. Like if you cast this at higher levels, the creature's going to be more powerful. Yeah. And virtually every attack is influenced by spell level, including its hit points. Yeah. And its armor class,
attack bonus, damage.
Everything is. So virtually everything is affected by. So this is solid, and it's like almost a brand new mechanic to 5th edition D&D. We've certainly started to see this in the Shadow Sorcerer. We had the Hound of Ill Omen. What else did you start being able to summon suddenly? The Artificer has the Iron Defender, is similar to that as well. The Wildfire Druid has. My wife is playing a Wildfire Druid right now, so I think Cinder, and I forget the name of it. It's a Wildfire Spirit, but she calls it Cinder, which is like the best.
I think maybe the first time I remember seeing it was the first variant of Ranger. Right, where they remember where they were just like toying with variant Rangers, and the first version of it had these blank template kind of spirit things you could summon.
That's right.
And so that was the first time I saw it, but this is clearly a different iteration of it. So
and so that was a 4th level spell. You get summon bestial creature at spirit at 2nd level conjuration.
Yes.
You conjure forth a beast, and we don't need to really outline the exact same thing because it's almost identical. It scales as well, and now you can choose something that is a water creature, an air creature, or a land creature. It can have pack tactics as a water creature.
Fly by.
I love pack tactics. I think they're fantastic. I don't know if anyone plays any Shadow Sorcerers out there, but I always find that very intriguing. I always wish there was like a Shadow Sorcerer Gish who was fighting alongside its Shadow Beast, right?
Yes.
But that's not like optimal, really, unless I guess if you're near it and you're casting spells,
you got Shadow Blade out.
It's pretty cool. It's got Flyby, which everyone wants and abuses with owls. And
it's fine.
Familiars. That's the kind of thing that I wish they had done for familiars, is like, here's your familiar stat block. Cut it out.
It's just this one. This is the familiar, and it gets a little, if it flies, it's got a flight speed.
If it has that, it gets that.
This is one of those things where the beauty of D&D is that all your DM has to do is go, all right, all of that old stuff works like this now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? This is really
pretty sorely tempted to make it that way too.
As opposed to other forms of and other forms of gaming, you got to wait for devs to put in a patch and all that stuff. But if you like these, just change out everything. And if you don't, you can ignore them.
I guess I gotta say, I gotta put in for my Corvus folks out there. Raven's real strong. As familiar, it can mimic. So if you want to like have it just crazy talk in the corner somewhere, you can be soldiers.
It could be really fun. It could be really fun.
Yeah, that's certainly a more role play heavy situation, but not probably very effective in combat. So then we get summoned Celestial Spirit. This thing can, depending on how you choose this, you get a radiant bow. So you get this Avenger that shows up and starts shooting arrows at things. There's a Defender that gets a radiant mace, or it can also decide to heal by touch.
Right. Yeah, I could do temp HP, which I'm kind of over on the number of temp HP granting abilities we get. And I think like a Sentinel type ability or something like the Shield Guardians type ability would have been really cool here because it'd be new. Something that otherwise you don't really have access to except through a feat or the off chance your DM uses a Shield Guardian and lets you get away with taking the amulet.
Right. Yeah. Temp HP is a big factor now.
I just see. I feel like I see it often enough that you wouldn't. The players who are playing characters that would grant temp HP would then be like, "Oh well, no, thanks, I've already got it," or I can generate my own, that kind of thing.
And then we get like things like the Elemental Spirit.
Talk about versatile.
Yeah, so it's got a slam attack, which is pretty cool. It's resistant to tons of things.
So much. Right. It's resistance, it's immunities. It's what I like is that it's a level lower than Conjure Elemental.
Yeah.
And Conjure Elemental, of course, to me it's like a benchmark D&D spell, and I would still keep it, with some of the other conjure spells, but it's like you can lose control of this thing.
Right.
And I have seen players who have lost control of it, and then it becomes another problem on the battlefield. Of course, they're able to deal with it, but
depends on your alignment.
It really does. It really does.
Summon a demon and just let it go.
Well, that's the other thing, is the other sort of like when we get to Summon Fiend, I had another player who loved the previous UA fiendish spells, where it's like, yeah, you can summon a bunch of them, but if you step outside of this circle, they're coming after you.
Yeah.
But she was a necromancer and was already animating the enemies. And, what's a demon or two between zombies?
Yeah.
Anyway, right.
Yeah. So this is very situational. 18 strength is nothing to sneeze at. It's got lightning. If it's air, lightning and thunder, resistance. Piercing and slashing doesn't do much against the earth elemental. Acid does nothing to water, which I don't know. Maybe go with. It's a real tough dude. It doesn't have much in the way of like special attacks or anything, but it's a good tank.
Yeah. I mean, the downside of elemental is you've got things like me as a player going, can I suffocate someone with my air elemental?
Right.
Like, can I get inside its lungs, or can I drown it with my water elemental? That so bypasses hit point damage, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Creepy. So that's where so they're for players like me, for dungeon masters that don't want to have to put up with, like, they want the element of summoning something without all of the questions that having a full-on monster brings.
Yeah.
The fact that these are just template spirits, and what a cool way to like add a wrinkle to your campaign, because it's like these spirits have to come from somewhere. So does that just mean there's legions of celestial spirits waiting to do battle against evil on the prime material plane, or vice versa for diabolical spirits?
It's interesting that this line has been divided. I don't know if it's to help you with your guilt. Right? Because Conjure Monster was like, you grab that monster from somewhere.
Whether it's the beast lands on somewhere,
Yeah, and I kind of always enjoyed that interpretation, because I'm weird, but like I've actually run encounters where monsters disappeared because some wizard was conjuring something somewhere else in the world for spell giggles
or something.
Just to remind you that there's other people in that universe doing crap, and sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it will be bad.
Those two.
So summon phase spirit is I like it. It's very tricksy.
It is tricksy. I love the fact that you can summon an elf and they're small.
Yeah. Tiny elf from the
tiny little elf.
It can phase step, which is great. The darkening step is super weird. So you can have an evil fae, basically, and how do you say it? I always say unseelie, but it's not how you say it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't speak Gaelic, and I would just butcher it so badly.
I butcher the English language enough as it is. But when it uses phase step, it leaves darkness behind, which is mean. If you're like a warlock and you're working that magical darkness stuff.
Yeah. At first I was like, when I looked at this, it's like, why don't they have an ability to see through their own? But then when you think about this is in conjunction with a caster. These are to support primarily the caster, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I can see like, yeah, there's a lot of ways that you could use that.
So and if it's a joyful Fae, not the deceitful Fae, it basically has a charm effect on anything near it. So
yeah. So one of my favorite tactics as a DM is to split up my minions into like multiple groups and have some of them in reserve, some of them they're going to do range support for 2 rounds and then enter melee or something like that, so that they're not all clumped up in one fireball friendly mob.
Yeah.
And the ecstatic step kind of messes with that, because it's like if you grab one of those outliers, then it's like nobody was fighting them anyway. And if at least for a round or two they turn on their allies, like that ability in a game like that, or for a DM like myself, this would wreak havoc on that strategy.
It's enough of confusion. I've been doing a lot of we've been doing a lot of fireball math at home lately. WizKids came out with these great little, as you may have seen me modeling, great little like magical circle, tools. And Megan, my wife, has been playing a wildfire druid, and she's just hordes of those yellow musk zombies coming after her. And just watching them burn away was a lot of fun. She almost died, and she actually used the changeling feature to look like one of them. And I'm like, they do have an intelligence of 1. Normally, I would never allow that. But intelligence 1?
Yeah.
I think they run past her.
Yeah.
Like that World War Z kind of like, oh my God. And they totally changed the fight.
That's really cool. Impassioned
step. So this is the furious one. Immediately using this Fae step, the Fae has advantage on its next attack roll. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a super angry, and it's going to do well because of it.
No spell-like abilities.
No spell-like abilities, but just there to rage.
Right.
Just an elf bull. Just
yeah, just a tiny elf, an elf on the shelf.
Just your lone little private red cap. Like you just summon a red cap. Like, man, I was getting ready to murder. Okay, I'll murder this then. So I understand we have a lot of these. There are a lot. There are a lot. Yeah. And this fills any niche you could possibly have, I would argue. I don't see anything. I don't see any stone unturned. I do, because I'm me, actually.
Oh, what do you see?
Yeah. Okay. So I only have one thing I wish I had, and I'll tell everyone what is at the end of this. And if you can't guess it, then you don't know who I am as a human being. We've got summon fiendish spirit. You basically summon a devil, which cool.
This one's really cool. So it's a couple of things I appreciate about this one. The fact that the Yugoloths have a teleport, which if you're up on your D&D lore, is sort of one of those deep dives into Planescape of like how the devils and demons lost their ability to teleport at will, and who took it, and all that. So I appreciated that. At least I'm assuming it's a wink to that. But regardless of what you choose, it gets telepathy, right? So like I'm thinking that this used in conjunction with someone else with, say, a major image going. Yeah. So it's like it's not just this thing that appears, but like an illusion of a bunch of, say, mains or dretches or something else. The fact that one of them is real is going to fool somebody.
Oh, I love doing that as an illusionist. I always love, because what's worse than, a bunch of illusions of monsters is bad, but not knowing which one is which.
Yeah. So it's like one of those 1-2 punches where I love finding ways for 2 casters to find how different spells work. And illusion's always a fun one because it just is so versatile.
Oh, if you want, you get an illusionist and a necromancer together, and it is the worst. Worst possible scenario. You're not playing. You're not the heroes at that point.
You're really not.
You're really not. You're the enemy. Yeah. This is really strong magical resistance. You got death throws. That if the demon, I don't know why I'm having trouble. Too much energy drink. If the fiend drops to 0 hit points before the spell ends, it explodes. I love it. It kind of reminds me of Draconians from Dragonlance.
I love enemies that do something on death.
I love demons I love creatures that explode. We don't have enough of that in D&D.
Yeah, you just have it look like a Baylor. Come on.
It's like sappers in That old Lord of the Rings RTS. Or was that the original World of Warcraft? Yeah, it was the original World of Warcraft had sappers, I think. No, just Warcraft, the RTS. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's got magical darkness, really, really helpful. If it's a demon, it's got bite. That makes sense because all they want to do is rip your face off and eat you. You go off, get claws. And hurl flame is the devil. This is great if you want to play Doom right now. In your D&D, you've got, again, you have this ranged option. You got a melee option. It's strong all around.
The fact that you can look like whatever fiend you want it to look like. So if you're a demonologist or something like that, I would almost say if you know one of the fiendish languages, you probably know the difference between types of fiends, at least of that language. If it's abyssal, then it's demons, infernal, because like you had to learn the language somehow. And so what kind of foundational texts are you reading to learn abyssal other than grimoires and bestiaries of demons? That's how I would rule this kind of thing.
Let's see, we got Shadow Spirit. This is 3rd level, which makes me, I love 3rd level because that's kind of like the medium. You know, not everyone, a lot of people don't even get to 10th. So
3rd level spells are for a lot of people the top, and that's fine. If you think of the average D&D peasant, 3rd level spells are terrifying.
Fireball is like
will kill all your village in 6 seconds.
That's by the time you're a 5th level wizard, you're a super huge threat to everybody around you. So Shadow Spirit,
bring one of you back.
Shadow Spirit is really cool. The spirit has advantage on attack rolls against frightened creatures if it's a bloodthirsty Shadowfell type creature. Called a Fury. Shadow Stealth if it's fear, which is a little weird, right? Like your Fury gets advantage against frightened creatures, but your fear gets advantage to hiding and stealth checks while in the darkness. That's
sort of like redundant in that sense. I like fear though. I think of all of them, it has the best flavor for a shadow spirit. But I also kind of like despair's aura as well.
It's really creepy. Anything within 20 feet of it. Its turn within 5 feet of the spirit has a speed reduced by 20 feet. That's pretty huge. And that's despair, and that's so sad.
The weight of ages. I love it.
That's upsetting. Chilling Rend is pretty cool. You do some cold damage as a Shadowfell creature. Dreadful Scream fits nicely if you just want to have not necessarily, just a creepy moaning shit. Sorry.
So
shadow creature.
With despair, you would use this once everybody's in melee with you, hit them with this. And then try to run away, but they only get 20 feet. So you get that's how I would use that. I just I like this one. And this is another one where you can't separate this spell from its caster. So it's is the caster also causing fear effects or something like that, either with an ability or a spell,
I do wish you could see a magical darkness.
Certainly. There's a lot of that I'd like to see.
I mean, being of the Shadowfell, and again, I can't help but not think about that Shadow Sorcerer and having synergy with the Hound in this as well.
Oh, certainly.
Popping off. I'm really excited that Summon Undead Spirit happened.
Yes.
This is just another way for you to cast something and get effectively an undead, something forming in front of you that isn't necessarily raising up a bunch of skeleton bones.
And this fact that it sort of has a its own flavor to it. To me, skeletal undead could just as easily be an ancient white or what do you call them, a draugr that's just with a bone bow. Or a failed lich, that has a little bit of magic power, but is otherwise just a skeleton.
Because that ritual has to go wrong, right? So failed lich should be an actual monster.
certainly. Failed lit. You don't want to be in the same room.
So this is interesting because if you choose a ghost form, you get an incorporeal movement, which is really cool, and it's everything that you think it is. Festering aura, if you summon a putrid undead, is super disgusting and makes everyone make a Constitution saving throw. And otherwise it has the poison condition, which is cool. So like something that's so gross and disgusting you can smell. I like that because that's now visceral. Like even though it says you summon a spirit, the spirit is reeking and gross. If you chose the ghostly as a deathly touch, I love it.
It's just true. It's just sort of frightened.
It's a wisdom saving throw, or you become frightened. So you're really summoning a banshee at that point.
Seems like it.
It's fun. Gravebolt has shown up again,
right?
Previously in the revived rogue, the best rogue ever designed, by the way. I don't care what anyone says, I love it. And take that. And I even like Gravebolt, but this has Gravebolt and it's 150 feet,
2d8 plus
2d8. Oh, just like pulling out one of its bones and shooting at you or something.
Plus,
like
plus
I don't know.
6 2d8 plus 6, right? So this was like, first off, you probably already at 3rd level, you probably got animate dead and you've already done the skeletal archer's trick. This is their lieutenant you're summoning.
This is their Hawkeye.
Or you can summon a ghast.
Right.
Or that's the other thing. You got to wait till create undead to get something like that. And like the festering aura coupled with rotting claw is just one of those where I think I would just always summon it and it'd be always the same one. And like maybe it'd be a dead relative or something, or like a dead enemy.
Yeah, that enemy would be fun because that gives you these creepy. I don't know if anyone's seen Castlevania season 3, but there's some amazing writing in that, and there's a part where one of the Forge Masters actually talks to one of the demons for the first time that it summons and creates, which you don't expect because they're basically treated like the summon demon or summon undead spell. But he has a conversation. And it is an upsetting conversation. It's enough to make you not want to ever know what's on these creatures' minds again. So
that's how I play summon spells. You like how you treat them is they remember. And so like that elemental spirit, it'll remember because you're the way I have it is like you're bonded with one, whether you know it or not, like the first time you cast it. And in some games I've had players roll on a table and others I just, wing it. But I like it because it gives players pause. It's like, you can still do this. It's down for whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if you treat it like a thing, it'll remember that. That's,
it's great narrative stuff. It's it's fantastic. So the fact that the putrid version gets rotting claws, you have a nice festering, horrible, gross zombie. And what I love about these is these are very unique. They've all made these unique from different things that are in the monster manual, but still evoking the things that you would want to.
Yes. Yeah. I think so too.
I'm super happy with all of this. Here's the only one I missed. I would have liked a summon ooze.
Yes.
Summon
my
ooze.
God. Now that I know about it, I want it.
Yeah, I really want to summon ooze. And I also want an ooze druid. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it breaks the game. Let me change into anything with a certain challenge rating, wild shape into an ooze. I want it. I allowed one of our druids in Beyond Heroes to actually use wild shape to turn into any demon of the appropriate challenge rating.
Nice.
Any fiendish creature, and it was hilarious and creepy because invariably was a cackler, right? Which is like the most upsetting form a halfling could take, right? So anyways,
oh my God! Yeah,
ooze druid. Give me ooze druid, and let me summon an ooze spirit.
Yes, we've already got fungal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We already get the fungal. We got some questions.
Let's answer some.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. I'm having all the troubles.
That's all right.
Because almost all the summon spirits can speak, would you allow information gathering? Yes, I would. I don't know how effective it would be, and I wouldn't want anyone manipulating this too heavily, but we just had this conversation. Role-playing with the things that you summon is super fun, and I think really inventive. Because, yeah, you're right. We're very focused on summoning as, like, how does this affect combat? How does this affect tactics? Well, what if the thing you summon has information? You know, like if it's from the elemental plane of fire, maybe it knows something about, you know, the brass city. So
yeah,
I would talk to your DM about that kind of stuff. I think it's really inventive and fun, and that would be a nice thing to add to that kind of stuff. Really, I mean,
I really think so. Yeah, because this is easily a junior league commune with, or contact outer plane.
Yeah,
right. And I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea of you might have a circle that you prepare, not necessarily a magic circle 3rd level spell, but like something to summon one of these things. And if it were me, I'd like let the DM know a bit ahead of time, or like at the beginning of the session, hey, I'm thinking about using this summon phase spirit to do some information gathering. And like that's going to determine what type I summon. You know, I'm not going to summon a deceitful.
Right.
Things like that.
You're not gonna summon a liar fae.
Yeah, but I was certainly, to me, those are all legit uses because they have language. They've got intelligence scores. Like those stats are there for a reason, not just to run them in combat, but to run them in social encounters as well.
Yeah, I think that's really fun. So, William Moore, thanks for the question. It was a really good one. Would you allow a druid to wild shape into a beast spirit and use the stats? I don't know. I would have to take a hard look at that. Maybe. That's not really how rules is written, to be honest. And I don't think these will be jumbled into the monster manual. It's kind of, it's a toughie. I do think it's interesting, certainly, but it's not technically an animal, it's a spirit. So
there've been versions of a druid that had a similar type. I thought maybe it was a variant in 3rd edition where it was like, instead of turning into animals, you have these templates that you, it's a vague D&D memory.
There's a question from, which one of these spells would fit an artificer? You know, a lot of weird stuff can happen. I recently had an artificer who actually brought the dead back to life with a series of wires and copper tubing, and they weren't technically undead, but they were like, you know, constructs. So you can make some interesting excuses. If the player really, really want those spells, they would have to make a really strong argument as to why. Because robot fae would be hard.
Yeah, I think it would be the type, like I could see summon bestial spirit and it's like I'm like, this is my taxidermied wolf.
Yeah.
And I'd like for it to come back, you know.
Oh man. So
I mean, acid stream is acid stream is a good example. Summon dead, like this is my mini flesh golem.
Yeah.
You know,
this is my Frankenstein.
Yeah, my Frankenstein. But acid stream is a good, you know, I'd certainly let an artificer have access to that. That's a good. That's, you know.
If you summon a fiend, sorry. Yeah, that's perfect. We have another question. If you summon a fiend, would you let it make a contract with the player from the, you know, Descent into Avernus? Yeah, possibly. It's not. Fiend's not that powerful at that level necessarily.
I'd let it I would let it be the go between a proper devil that can, you know, issue a contract, because you can't just like shortcut that kind of thing. You got to go through the proper channels, otherwise it's a null and void contract. You know, so, but I'd let the fiendish spirit be an intercessor and put the player in touch with, i.e. give names for how to contact across planar barriers, that kind of information. I'd enable it and then let the player figure out how much they want to dig themselves in.
I'm working on a subclass that's focused on contracts. So we got tattoos, and we're not spending a lot of time talking about tattoos because we have 10 minutes. I can't believe it took us that long to get through the spells.
I mean, yeah, but still.
So I don't know. I'm sure tattoos have existed in previous editions of D&D. I've never used any of the rules beforehand, so I don't have any prior knowledge. But these are all pretty interesting, especially if you're really into tattoos. What do you think about these? What do you think about their inclusion?
I like them better than the previous version I remember from D&D, which is 3rd edition's Tattooed Monk.
Okay.
And I just happened to have a player where if Tattooed Monk was an option, they were playing Tattooed Monk. Like, didn't matter. They'd already played 6 of them. They're going to play a 7th. And I remember being sort of unimpressed with the abilities and would always say yes, because it's like, sure, it seems to make you happy. But it always seemed to me in those moments that the promise wasn't necessarily delivered. And I think separating them from Monk and just being like, these are magic items anyone can get. And they offer like abilities that are familiar enough but every one of them, as far as I'm looking at, even if it is a repackaged class ability, it's got something else with it that makes it more than what it is. And some of them, like the barrier tattoo, right? I can't think of a single character that would not want the barrier tattoo, because it's up to plate armor with no drawbacks.
Yeah.
And so just to back up from the individual ones, first off, this is the Magic Tattoo Scream Artificer, right? Like,
yeah,
Magic Tattoo artist.
Your heavy metal punk,
right?
Artificer who's got all the because what you do is you find these needles that are imbued with this magic, and they allow you to tattoo somebody.
Yeah. The needles are made of the ink. Like, that's what I think is really cool.
You know, the very first thing I thought of when I saw this, I can now easily make cyberpunk D&D.
Yes.
This mixed with Artificer.
Oh yeah.
With like glowing magical arcane tattoos. There's nothing preventing me from making cyberpunk
Ravnica,
D&D.
Eberron, and magical tattoos.
Beyond Eberron. Way high fantasy. Like
so in Land Between Two Rivers, I have a group of barbarians that worship monsters. They're just like, look at these monsters. They're so much better than us. And so they scar themselves and modify themselves to look like monsters. And up until now, it's just cosmetic and how I describe it. But they are definitely getting reskinned magic tattoos now.
Yeah, it's hard. What I like is like whatever character theme you have, there is now kind of a weird tattoo that's really great. So I love Kraken stuff. I am drinking out of a Kraken cup right now. I have tentacles literally everywhere. I've got a old timey gun. I've got this lovely thing my wife got me for.
Oh, that's awesome.
For Christmas. Side note, it's so weird that like my parents actually bought me the same one. It wasn't on a list. They just know. They
just put like one of them in an aquarium and
they just know like tentacles. They're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, so coiling grasp tattoo, really, really cool.
Yes.
You have inky, you literally have inky tendrils. If you're already in a pact with a Kraken, how are you not getting tatted up a little bit? You're already into the body horror. So this is like low hanging fruit. The creature must succeed on a DC 14, strength saving throw, or take 3d6 damage. It's effectively grappled by you. It's got all this really cool. We just don't have the time to get into all these.
Sure. My favorites are Eldritch Claw and Blood Fury.
Okay, so tell me about those.
So Eldritch Claw basically makes you like an unarmed master, and so you get these magic claws here. Let me pull this up, and it is first off, it's uncommon, so it's probably going to be one that you usually get. While tattooed in your skin, your unarmed strikes are considered magical for the purposes of overcoming immunity and resistance to non-magical attacks, which, like, sold. I don't care what else it does. I'm there for that, right? I love the idea that my fist is magical. And like, I don't bring it on, demons. Like, I'm going to take you out. You then get a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with unarmed strikes. And then it has a bonus action ability, which you can empower your tattoo for 1 minute, and for the duration, your melee weapon attacks can reach target up to 30 feet away from you as the tendrils of ink launch from your weapon or unarmed strike towards the target. An extra D6 force damage. Refresh at dawn. So you get basically sort of like your own rage type combat enhancement. That I think is fun, and anything that lets me make melee attacks at range, I love. Ranged grapple, ranged whatever. So that is Eldritch Claw. I think a lot of warrior type classes would love it. And then Blood Fury is just pure combat enhancement. Crit on a 19 through 20. Whenever you crit, you're doing an extra 46 necrotic, as well as getting temporary HP equal to that damage. So 46 temp HP. And then whenever a creature you can see that damages you can use your reaction to attack that creature. So it's like, you're going to take some of the best of Champion and Battlemaster and package it into a tattoo. I'll take it for just about any warrior type.
There's some great.
It's also legendary, so there's that.
There's some really interesting themes here. We got the Shadowfell brand tattoo that essentially lets you use your reaction to be insubstantial and take about half damage.
Yep.
That's really cool. And plus I like the idea that maybe your tattoo is just a solid color. It's not anything unique, right? It's just like shade. You just shaded your neck or across your eyes, right? Like as a tattoo, almost like Furiosa. I like, if you have trouble with like deciding the masquerade tattoo, you can actually change its shape and make it move around. So it's almost like the non-tattoo tattoo.
Right.
And that allows you to disguise self as an action. Now there's a very good question here. And I feel like this is already where they're going. Would you allow these to be not attunements, infusions for the artificer? Yes. This makes a lot of sense for the artificer to make these infusions.
Yes.
I don't know that this is specifically where they're going with it, but like if you really want that cyberpunk D&D game, this fits in so well, and I would love that. I would love them to make these available to the artificer, and it just fits, right? Like these seem like infusions.
Yes. Yeah. The fact that you could trade them, like, oh, I don't need this anymore. I can trade the tattoo. Like, how else are they getting made if not an artificer? Their whole deal is magical tools and objects.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
This is the one who does it, like Blood Fury and getting extra crits. You know, this artificer becomes very useful for the group. You got the Life Well tattoo giving you effectively Death Ward. You've got this, Ghost Step tattoo that suddenly makes you a ghost, really.
Right. The Illuminator's tattoo is really fun because it lets you write with your finger,
right,
and then make a message that's only visible to you and someone else. And you just speak their name. So it's like, this is the spy. I love spycraft D&D.
Yeah.
You know, so I love things like that.
Would you do this as a character?
Oh yeah, I'd probably do this in like a Ravnica type game where I can use all the really cool like mind theft type abilities. I've played a spy type character before with a one of those multi-class abominations that was a holdover from when I played 3rd edition. And so yeah, this would be perfect for them because they're constantly trying to leave notes and sort of like both against mortal enemies and against aberrations. So anything that gives them advantage, and that is a plus.
You know, it's funny. Me as a person, as an individual, I grew up amongst everyone had tattoos when I was growing up, or in my neighborhood, and that made me not want to have tattoos growing up because every adult I knew was like tatted up to the nines, except for my folks, and so it made me like weird about tattoos. So like even my characters tend not to have tattoos. I cannot explain this. I am not anti-tattoo, but an artificer who is an artillerist who is using a blunderbuss or like an old piratey pistol, you know, and then they get that Kraken tattoo on them as well. That's really just thematically cool with like a warlock patron of the lurker, right? You've got this, you have this artificer who is now like I'm in the cult.
Yeah, I joined. Yeah. Hail Dagon.
Yeah. Okatoa. Right. Okatoa. I think this is a really fun UA, and it's very imaginative. And we got what we want for Conjuring. I've always loved the concept of conjurers. Obviously, Constantine is a big conjurer. If you want to take inspirations from that, this allows you to conjure everything but an ooze. Dan Dillon, where's my ooze?
Come on, Dan.
Dan, I know you're watching, or you're gonna be watching. Give me my ooze tattoo and my ooze sorcerer.
Let me cough up a gelatinous cube.
I just want to play a gelatinous cube.
Oh God, why can't you?
Just let me. Yeah. By
and
the way, that is
maybe the different kinds of skeletons and bodies inside of you hold different powers.
We have a message from Dan Dillon, everyone. Oozes don't have spirits.
Oh, come on. Dweeblix must inhabit.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
Ooze may be essentially the spirit. I would say that if
primordial.
You watch Ghostbusters and you know the theory of ectoplasm, oozes are spirit. Wow. Hot debate on Twitch right now.
I stand with Todd.
I did take a lot of debate in high school, so I know I turned things around.
I prefer this debate than some of the other D&D debates I've had.
But by my own theory, then why can't I would if I was Dan Dillon right now, I'd be like, then why can't you make all of these ooze themed in your brain? Since ooze is all spirits and all spirits are ooze.
They all are made of ectoplasm.
Right. But ooze sorcerer is really cool. I'm just saying. You suddenly can just squeeze under cracks and stuff like that. Just gross.
Give me the ability to be boneless.
It's like the grossest part of the first X-Men movie. That guy, that senator, just squeezing through the bars. I'm just like, no. Yes. I don't know if it's the bad CG or what his face looks like when he does it, but it's upsetting.
It's upsetting. Yeah. I wanted my character to go through a keyhole, you know?
Yeah. That's like the best parts of psionicism, actually. That creepy, weird stuff that you would pull off. Like, yeah, the stuff that ruined the thief's entire life and point in a party. You know, when you really want to creep out the players, send a giant after them when they're in a really small space, but the giant is just a contortionist. You know. Oh my God! Why would you say it? It says a hell giant contortionist. Yeah. It's coming after you. You thought you were safe inside there. No, it cracks its shoulder and comes after you. No. I'm gonna be sick. No. I just imagined Hill Giant Carnival. Yes. Hill Giant Carnival. Imagine it and then turn it into a D&D game. Oh God, that is some primo module from 3rd edition right there. The Hill Giant Carnival's coming to town, kids. They're just like the Hill Giant Carnies. Yeah. Yeah. What ride are you getting on the Hill Giant is operating? It's just a giant. It's a catapult with a sling that you're in. Oh my God! Why am I saying any of this out loud? It's just the best adventure now. Yeah. Welcome to the Hill Giant Carnival. Okay. Well, big thoughts for tomorrow's game. All right, that's it. We're out of time. It's 3:02. Dan Dillon has graced us with his presence. Thank you, Dan. He's cursing my name, I'm sure. Probably offline. Thank you so much for watching Todd Talks. This is a really awesome Unearthed Arcana. I really can't wait to utilize this in the game. It helps. I really like that this is something that can really like customize your character a bit more. Because naturally tattoos feel more personal, magical items less so potentially. Right. But yeah, this is something that a player is going to be like, can I seek this out? And then it's going to be like a meaningful thing. And it's interesting. Maybe you have a master tattoo artist, something like that. Yeah. I think this is really great. So, don't forget after the show, go to our Discord. Lauren's yelling at me right now. Join us for, I'm reading this copy as if I've ever read it before. Join us for a post-show chat and a raffle. Sign up for our Discord right now, and there is a link included in chat. And join the live game spoilers for the channel, where we'll spend about 30 minutes chatting about the most, not us necessarily, me and Jim, but everyone who's in the community will spend 30 minutes chatting about the stream, and there's going to be giveaway codes for the player's handbook on D&D Beyond. Our Discord server is pretty amazing. It's got a great community. We've got the Avre bot, which is really cool. So check out all that stuff. Anything else from you, WebDM? Where do we find WebDM? We're on YouTube on WebDM and WebDM Plays if you want to catch some of our live stream content. That's where it's archived. The only message I have is WebDM's here to stay. I know a lot of folks are stuck indoors. They're doing the social distancing, self-quarantine, and we're not going anywhere. And so even if it's just for an hour or so a week, we are happy to be friends in your ear or on your screen. And fear not, we've got some episodes banked because we do film in person, but we're also exploring ways, you can maybe see a little bit of it here, to do remote content so you won't miss any weeks or anything like that. So that's just, we're here with you guys because we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Yeah. Also, you had a really weird show. I haven't been able to watch it yet. We did, yes. So thank you. First off, thank you, Dwarven Forge, who without them couldn't be possible. Pruitt and I have had this idea for about a year and a half about a show that's essentially from the bottom up D&D. It follows not the heroes, but the henchmen who carry their bags, light their torches, and take their shields in combat. And so it relies on a lot of just like D&D humor.
So they argue about the third age and how terrible the dragon problem was, or well, what things were like in the second age, and it took you so long to cast spells. And it's supposed to be just our love of D&D combined with Maya and Pruitt's love of little miniatures and plastic figurines. And it was a hoot. I love it, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Everyone stay safe, and we love you. Thank you so much for watching the show.